My name is Dennis Rogers, and I'm a professional strongman like Bud. You could probably tell that by our similar physiques. But in 2004, I read an article that Bud had written called Outlaw Strength, and he said some very kind things about me, so I contacted him to thank him. I knew of him, and of course he obviously knew of me, but we had never met. And I was doing a show in Savannah, Georgia, so we made an agreement, hey, let's all meet there. He came down and he brought Heather and Noah with him. And now you got 3 strongmen in the room, because Noah at 8 years old was already doing strongman feats. So the first thing he did is he bent over and he grabbed a chair, like so, and he had Bud sit on his back, and he lifted Bud up and down. And I'm like, Bud's 350 pounds. He's got 24-inch arms, and who knows, maybe a 60-inch chest. And I go, man, I hope you don't ask me to lift him. But then, and Bud was into this tough guy fighting, right? So Noah was, he was teaching Noah how to fight and all. So Noah was showing me at that point, how hard he can hit. So he's hitting Bud, and he's like, bam, bam. And I'm not kidding, you can hear these stings. I bet you if you were, a block away, you'd have heard that, like that. And so Noah turns his head to me and he goes, hey, you should see what happens when I hit him when he ain't looking. And then Bud heard him, and Bud said, man, one time I was doing something, and Noah spun around and he kicked me in the side of the head. And he said, you know all the fighting that I've been in? He said, he hit me so hard, he almost took me down at 8 years old. But I could see Noah's spunk and how much he wanted to do the strongman thing, so we went out to eat, and I taught him how to take spoons. I do a lot of things with my fingers. And I taught him how to take spoons and make them into like snakes, like cobras and rattlesnakes and stuff. And from what I understand, he's done them in restaurants all over everywhere. I think they said they had 30-some spoons at home when they were going through getting his stuff together. But Noah, he just started taking strength to a whole new level. Now, I want you to understand this. When Noah was 12 years old, and I consider myself an expert on strength. I've been doing it for 3 decades, been involved with all different facets of strength. At 12 years old, Noah, off of a rack, now he had some straps, but it doesn't matter, he's 12 years old. He did what you call a rack deadlift, just a few inches, but he lifted 1,000 pounds. At age 14, he came to my apartment, and he had really gotten into the bending of other things. In the strongman world, the thing to bend in order to prove if you want to say you're a professional strongman, you have to bend this thing called a 60-penny nail. Well, what you do is it takes about 250, 350 pounds of pressure, and you have to do it unbraced. You hold it right here, and you fold it in half with your hands. Well, Noah could do that real easy at 14, and here's the kicker. They have a nail which they call the red nail. It's like a contest. The nail takes 480 pounds of pressure. Noah says, watch this. And he takes that red nail at 14 years old. And you've probably seen the picture up there of his eyes bugging out. And he just goes, and he folds that in half. No one ever, I don't even think below 18 or 19 had ever folded it in half. And Noah folds it in half. So I called one of the top strong men. His name, we call him the human vice. His name's Pat Povolitis. I said, you ain't gonna believe what Noah did. He said, what he did? I said, he bent the red nail. He said, how'd he do it? I said, I'm telling you, he did it totally legit. Held it right up top. He says, wow. He couldn't believe it. But he did believe it. He's like, it's amazing, but we got to know that Noah, he's following Bud. He was trying to, actually I think he was competing with Bud and trying to surpass him because he was doing some amazing things. At 15 years old, Bud and I have a seminar. We're teaching people how to do a whole variety of things. One of the things is I'm teaching on how to bend horseshoes. And when I do these seminars, I have an easy level of horseshoes, and that's usually all anybody gets by. Well, Noah didn't really know much about bending horseshoes, so he wanted to learn too. Well, I'm not exaggerating. Within 15 minutes, Noah was bending the toughest shoe that we had, because I had a few I was bending and showing, and Noah was flattening them out, and Noah started teaching part of the class. So we could break out in groups. Noah just started teaching, okay, here's how you bend the horseshoe. And all. He just learned 15 minutes before, and he's doing it. And he loved to do that and help people. At age 16, he proved he was one of the world's strongest teenagers, definitely one of the world's strongest grips of any age. He took 1,100 pounds, and to give you an idea about that, that would be, on today's standards, about 6 refrigerators, 6 full-size refrigerators like you would go into an apartment and see. Took 1,100 pounds off a rack. Typically, they do a deadlift with a reverse grip like this. He did a forward grip, and it was a fairly thick bar, 1 3/8 inches thick. Knuckled straight out, which is much harder, and lifted the 1,100 pounds off the rack. Now, I want you to think about that grip strength, back strength, everything to do it. But the grip, mainly, to hang on to 1,100 pounds in your hands, and he's 16 years old. Amazing. At 17, I was so impressed with all the things Bud had been sending me. Things in, lifting rocks and up. How many agree that's pretty phenomenal? A teenager bent that. You understand that? A teenager. This is right here a world-class bend. So at 17, I take him to what they call the Stark Center of Physical Culture. Dr. Terry Cott is one of the top authorities on feats of strength. I took him up there and had Noah bend stuff for him. Bud went with us. And today, Noah has stuff displayed in the museum. So if you ever get to Austin, Texas, to go to the Stark Center, and as soon as you walk in the glass cases, you will see things that Noah bent that they felt like were world-class things they need to put in there, especially world-class as a teenager. When he left there, I think I gave him that chisel afterwards. He came to my house and I had this cold chisel. Okay, a lot of you know what that is. A cold chisel. This is a 3/8 inch chisel, only 6 inches long. No leverage. You can't push it down your leg. You got to bend it up here. Noah folded the cold chisel. And if you had been and watched that on the screen, it was the blue thing he was holding in his hand. That's one of the most phenomenal bends of all time of what they call an unbraced bend. And he was 17 years old when he did it. But what I want you to understand is Noah wasn't just a strong man. He was a strong man. He showed us it's not how long you live, but how you live. He had a great attitude. He was extremely respectful. And he loved helping people. And I mean this sincerely. He had a character that I personally, and I used to be a youth pastor, I personally have never seen before in someone his age. Everything. I mean, he'd come and stay with my wife and me, and he wouldn't even let me pick anything up. You know, he's grabbing stuff and helping us and just wanted to help everybody. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. I mean, just, oh, man, what a joy. Bud and Heather called the house to check on Noah. And Maria, my wife, said he'd stay here as long as he wants. He didn't stay here forever. She didn't care. I mean, she loved him that much. Both of us did. But now he's in heaven. And I think, oh, how glorious that must be. We can't even fathom how glorious it is. So I want to ask y'all something. Nobody needs to answer out loud, but just think about the question. If God was to come here right now, right this minute, and say, you know, I know y'all love Noah very much. I'll tell you what. If y'all want, I'll bring him back. How many of you would want to take him out of the arms of Jesus? And even if you did, you'd never get his grip loose. God bless y'all.